Hello everyone, my name is Yelsa Shiny. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little bit different. Today I will be testing out the Kuretake Gansai paints and also this Arrtx hot press sketchbook that I bought for myself as a little treat for the holidays. But these are the ones that I found in my local art store and decided to pick them up and test them out for myself. Now, this first set of paintings that you'll see me do is me swatching them, getting a feel for them, and then doing little mini paintings in this sketchbook as well to just kind of get a feel of how the colors mix together. Now, I really love the feel of these paints. I think they feel really nice. When I was swatching them, I was very impressed with the consistency, with the opaqueness, and the transparency I could get from them depending on how much I watered them down. And if you know me, that's actually one of my favorite things when it comes to handmade watercolors, is the level of opaqueness I can get from them, and then also the level of transparency I can get depending on how much I water them down. So I actually really loved that this was the feel that I got. And here I'm just labeling them in this sketchbook. This is a sketchbook that I use to actually swatch all of my handmade watercolors, so of course it is fitting that this goes here as well. They also included in the top a little area for you to actually swatch the paints as well, which I really thought was cool. So I decided to take some time to also fill that out, even though I just did it in my sketchbook. So now I'm taking the time to actually paint some little small loose freehand sketches in the sketchbook to kind of get a feel for the paints. And I will say that I really loved how well they mix together on the page, and the granulation in this is so nice. I did not do any color mixing outside of this. Everything that mixed together is directly on the page, and I love just letting watercolors do that, so I decided to test it with this, and they do so nicely. They do it so nicely. They actually have such a beautiful appearance when they do that, and I really enjoyed painting with these. I love the way the paintings, mini sketches I guess, came out just from letting the paints do their thing. I think the third little sketch that I do is honestly a little bit messy, but I didn't really have a clear vision for that one. These, I knew I wanted to do trees, but they all look nice, and I love the way the colors come out. I love the greens and I love the blues, and honestly, blues are very important to me because I use a lot of blues in my work. So seeing how nice these blues were and how nice the greens are was really nice. And now we're moving on to the Arrtx, or is it Arrtx? I'm not sure. I think I've heard both pronunciations, to be honest, but now we're moving on to me painting in the Arrtx sketchbook, which is hot press. I love this little thing. It was smaller than I expected when I first got it, but I love it because it's yellow and green, and yellow and green are my two favorite colors. This sketchbook has actually been used quite a lot since I first recorded this video, and I will say that I really love how it works with these paints, and also they work really nicely with oil pastels. I've been using some Caran d'Ache oil pastels, and they work so nicely on this paper. Color pencils also work very nicely on this paper. It's just a very nice sketchbook, and this sketchbook has turned into my color challenge of only using green and yellow as like the main colors of my painting. And it just happened to work out that this painting mostly has green and yellow. The duck is yellow and the grass is green, and of course there's water and there's blue, but for the most part the main colors in this composition are yellow and green. So it just happened to work out that those are the colors that I chose for this first painting, because that was not the plan going into the sketchbook, but because the sketchbook was yellow and green, I decided I was going to commit to that. So gotta say, really love the sketchbook, and I'll probably be getting more from them in the future. Maybe my future color challenges will also be in the sketchbooks that they have that are of the varying colors. They are not all the same size. I will say that I wish they made this yellow and green one in a larger size, but it's okay. It's pocket size, but I do like to have some like A5 sketchbooks, and unfortunately I think the bigger ones are like green and red, which is fine, but I would prefer to have the other sizes in other colors as well, and not just one color. But overall, I really like the feel of these paints in this sketchbook. Now I come back about a month later to finish out this other sketchbook that I've been working on for a bit now. In the very last page, I decided to use my Kuretake paints and paint a character of mine named Karhu. She is a character from the D&D campaign Shadow Memories that I created. She is not that relevant, but I do love her character design, so I decided, why don't I just draw her? Because I have not drawn her since the first time I created her. I'll show her up on the screen. But I decided to close out this sketchbook with my Kuretake paints, Kuretake Gansai paints, and I honestly really love how they came out. This is the first time I used them in cold press paper, and I knew they worked well in hot press. They'll probably work well in cold press, but I just had to test them out myself. So a little bit about Karhu, since she's not all that relevant in the campaign. I haven't fleshed her out too much more than when I did the initial character creation phase with her, but she is a Kalishtar and a Paladin Blood Hunter. She belongs to the Spectral Omen Court, and maybe one of these days I will do a little bit of a deep dive into this whole Blood Hunter court Blood Hunter courts that I have spent way too much time into, and just go into the lore of that. But that'll probably be once this campaign ends, because I can't say too much. without giving away too much information to somebody who may watch this, but Karu is part of one of the courts, the spectral woman, and she was born into the courts by her two parents, and one of her parents disappeared during a mission, and that whole group that one of her parents is on just went completely no communication, and every group that went to look for them came back empty-handed. And while their death has not been confirmed, it is still the overarching opinion. Now, her family has been touched by something ancient, something archaic, and they believe that a lot of it has to do with this sword that has made its way into her life and stays around her. It is a semi-sentient sword. I say semi-sentient because it's not always there. It's not always present, but it does talk to her. It does communicate with her, and it does not stray far from her. If you try to take the sword away from her, it will curse you and you won't last very long. If she lets you use the sword, then you won't have such bad luck, but it is quite attached to her and her existence, and they believe that if she were to die, the sword would probably shatter, disappear, and try to regain energy until, I guess, her next reincarnation, or the next person chosen by the blade. Series about her job, but she's generally a very chill person, and she is in this interesting friendship relationship with a guard from a different country named Whisper, who is not taken very seriously, but she is Karhu's best friend, and Sylvia, my character, ships those two quite a bit. And she told Whisper that her and Karhu should date. And Whisper's like, yeah, okay, sure. And I don't know, the way she asked Karhu out, Karhu was like, when you're more serious about it, sure. But Whisper thinks that they are currently engaged or dating, one of the two. And Karhu does not know anything about it, so she's a little bit goofy. Whisper is, but we'll see how that goes for the two of them. This was a nice, after a month, how did I feel about the paints? And I still love them. I did this back in January. I still use them as of recording this near the end of February. And honestly, they just mix so nicely together. They feel so nice to work with, like this buttery smooth consistency. I am very pleased with these paints, and we'll definitely have to buy them again. We'll have to try some of their other color palettes that they have as well, since this is just the one that I found in the store, which is just their basic Kuretake Gansai. It's not the Art Nouveau, it's not whatever other sets that they have. Something else that I noticed while doing this is I just want to reiterate that they mix very nicely together, and they also build up very nicely together, just like watercolors would. They build up very nicely. If you start out with a very light layer, they do build up in color nicely, and you see me building up the color quite a bit, which is not something that I do very often. It's one of the reasons why I like opaque watercolors, is because I don't really have the patience to keep constantly trying to build up the color. I like to lay them down and get the color that I expect, which is also probably why I enjoy and want to learn gouache better. But I really took my time with this painting when it came to figuring out how well the layers work, because the first painting I did in my Arrtx sketchbook was pretty simple. It was just a cute little duck. But in this one, I take my time really building up the layers, and they work very nicely together. I never really had any challenges with these paints. I fell into working with these paints quite easily, because sometimes when you try new paints, it can take a little bit of getting used to. I didn't really feel like I had a learning curve with this one, so very happy with that. So overall, I have to say that I really love these paints. I really enjoy working in the Arrtx sketchbook, and I had a lot of fun with this. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!